business units and produced more than 1.25 billion in revenue. Also, in his career, he works as a very successful trainer, author, and an international keynote speaker. So he launched his career with a career track, and it's actually one of the largest seminar companies in the world right now. And he also wrote this book. It's called Motivational Selling, Advice on Selling Effectively and Staying Motivated and Being a Peak Sales Producer, which was very cool. And also, so he has been in business for about 14 years, about more than 2 decades, and he was successful, a national account executive and selling over 500 million in products and service to corporations and entrepreneurs. So, Coach, that's basically about our speaker today. And Coach Mike, oh, here's a picture of Mike, of our Coach Mike and we're together. And Coach Mike, do you want to play a short just video clip of
So thank you, Ashley. Ed, I think we have about 35 people here waiting for you. Can't wait. Why not you?
Hello, everyone.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You said she said she was going to show a clip or something? Or?
No, we're good. We already played that one. We're good. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Tate. I'm the 2000 World Champion of Public Speaking. And I listened earlier, and someone said that they're excited to have someone who's famous on. I'm not too sure how famous I am, but I'm a regular person. So I'm not a king. There's nothing really special about me. I just happened to win a competition many, many years ago. A couple thoughts on winning the competition. First of all, a little bit about myself that wasn't mentioned is I am a stutterer, and there is no cure for stuttering. So when I was a kid, children used to make fun of me. So I don't know if anyone's ever made fun of you, but when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, the kids were unmerciful in terms of making fun of me. So we were going to be moving to Chicago, and I was determined that the other kids would not make fun of me. So I literally read magazines and newspapers out loud every single day before and after school. And when we moved to the new neighborhood, I got to the point where I was good enough that the kids didn't make fun of me. Not realizing many, many years later that skill, that reading out loud, reading newspapers, another thing that I did to prepare was I did play-by-play. So I would go to the playground, the guys would play basketball, and they would tell me who their favorite heroes were, and I had pretty good memory. And I would just do play-by-play live at the playground. And then in high school, I was a news anchor for 4 years. And then in college, I actually worked my way through college as a disc jockey on the radio for about 5 years. So now, again, not realizing that all these things had prepared me for winning this contest. Now, let me just say something about winning this competition. It's a competition where other people judge you. So you have no control over the outcome. Basically, it's a group of judges, and they decide who's the best on that particular day. So I actually had no control as to if I would win or not. But what I did have control over was my work ethic. And I decided there was no one who was going to outwork me. I was going to work as hard as I possibly could. And I worked every day. For example, like my final championship speech, I gave that to over 20 different audiences. And when I finally won the competition, it has still given me results to this day. And what I mean by that is many of you weren't even born when I won the World Championship of Public Speaking. And yet, here's a competition I won over 16 years ago, and you're actually talking to me today. So the point I'm trying to make is this: if there's a goal that you want, work really, really hard for it. No one can control your work ethic. And if you do have a goal that you want to go after, share that goal with people who believe in you. You can't always share your goals with everyone, because sometimes people make fun of you. So never share your goals with people who you think might make fun of you. But share your goals with those people who will believe in you, those people who will support you, those people who will actually help you achieve that particular goal. let's see, other things about the World Championship of Public Speaking, just a couple of things. When I was competing, my particular speech was, I had what we call audience participation. So in a minute, I'm going to demonstrate some of that audience participation. But everyone was telling me that, hey, you shouldn't do that. The judges aren't going to like that. No one's ever done that before. And these were the people who were telling me all these things that couldn't be done. But when I actually interviewed other winners, other people who actually won this competition, they told me completely different things. They told me to go for it. So here's a lesson for you. If there's some goal you want to achieve, interview people who have already achieved that goal. Call them up. For example, for me, I have, as you can see in the back, I have like lots of books on my bookshelf. I've contacted at least 40% of the authors on that book. And much to my surprise, I'm going to say about half of those authors have called me back, and I've had conversations with them. So you've got nothing to lose by trying, by asking, and you will succeed. One of the world champions, his name is Otis Williams III. He said, Ed, he says, work so hard that the only question is who's going to be in second place. Be so good that the only question is who's going to be in second place. Anyway, I mentioned earlier that I was going to share with you some audience participation. And I'm going to share with you my method as to how I tell stories. So there are, let's see, Mike, if you could, unmute everyone, because I want everyone to actually participate and play, okay? So could you unmute everyone?
Hello.
Okay,
Hello.
good. All right, good.
No,
So I want everyone to follow along with me, okay?
Wait. Mute. How to unmute everybody? Hold on a second. Wait, give me a second. Okay, let me unmute.
Okay. So everyone, this is how I tell stories.
Yes.
Mute.
There are 4 ways, 4 elements of a story. How many? Everyone, tell me. There's 4.
4.
Okay, great. So the first is, so everyone follow along with me. This is your head. Okay, so everyone follow along with me, including with your hands. This is your
Head.
and it makes you think. Okay, so let's take this from the top. This is your head, and it makes you think. Okay, this is your heart, and it connects. What does it do? It connects. So let's take this from the top. This is your
Head.
makes you
Think.
This is your
Heart.
and it connects.
Connect.
Okay? Okay, put your hands on your belly and give me a belly laugh. Okay, good. That's pretty good. I like that. Emily's really into it. So thank you, Emily. I appreciate it. All right? So let's take this from and this makes you laugh. So let's take this from the top. This is your
Head.
and it makes you. This is your
Heart.
and it connects.
Connect.
This is your belly and it makes you laugh.
Laugh.
Okay? And the 4th element is what I call heavy hitting. So I want everyone clap your hands like this. I want you to go heavy hitting. Everyone go heavy hitting. Okay, and that is the point. What is it? It's the point. So there's 4 elements of storytelling. Head makes you think. Heart, does it connect? Humor, does it make you laugh? And heavy hitting, that's the point. Okay, Mike, you can put it back on mute.
Okay. Everybody mute your phone, please.
So actually, I'm just going to leave it right now. What questions do you have, Mike? Are there questions that have been sent ahead of time?
Yeah, I'm still collecting questions. I encourage you sending me the chatting questions. Then we can ask Ed on this. I have a first question, Ed, is
sure.
Given when you, as I said, when you win the championship, a lot of people was not even born yet. Things changed. Now our children are more social media savvy, but the social skills occur. How can we use our public speaking skills to thrive in this, social media society?
Well, I work with a huge corporation called Johnson & Johnson. and they make, among other things, baby products, etc. We have like a lot of college students who it's their first year working for Johnson & Johnson. And they're really, really good at social media. They're really good at texting and things of that nature. However, when they get their first jobs, you cannot communicate via text or social media. You actually have to talk to people face to face. You actually have to have a conversation with people and learn how to influence people. So one of the things that we do for them is we take away their technology right away. We take away their laptops. We take away their phones, you name it. And then they have to give a presentation face to face. So one of the best things that you guys can do right now is learn how to talk to people face to face today without a keyboard and without a screen. That's probably the best thing that you can do, because for the people who learn how to do that, they're the ones who get ahead. They're the ones who get ahead in their careers. For example, I've been doing this for 13 years with Johnson & Johnson. And the students who were the best at communicating direct, that is having a conversation with another person with no screen in between them, they're the ones who've gotten ahead in their careers. Conversely, the people who are addicted to their phones and the only way they can talk is on their phones, those are the ones who not only are not doing well, but they're no longer with the company. So for many of you, if you can get this skill now, master this skill now of actually talking to people directly, trying to influence them, trying to lead them. The other part of Toastmasters is also learning how to lead others. That is, influencing people, if you will. So that's probably one of the best things you can do now is learn how to talk to people without a keyboard and without a screen in front of you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Sean asked a question about how or when do you start to become a public speaking professional?
A very good question. Very good question. Well, let me backtrack. There was a guy by the name of Randall Shelton who he's the one who got me involved in Toastmasters in the first place. And he said to me, Ed, I see something in you. There's a talent here, and you need to enter this competition. So sometimes, have you guys ever had the experience where it's your parents or maybe your teachers, they saw something in you, they saw a talent in you, and they said, hey, you're really, really good at this, okay? So sometimes what we need to do is listen to that, because others can see things in ourselves that we sometimes don't believe or we see in ourselves. So anyway, Randall saw this in me, and he encouraged me to enter the World Championship. Well, almost a year later, I win the World Championship. And then I get these invitations from around the world to speak. I've been around the world 9 times. And because of these numerous invitations to speak, I just said to myself one day, wow, let's see if I can make some money doing this. And once I made that decision, I have not looked back. So it was basically the demand, because once I won the World Championship, I was immediately put in the newspapers. By the way, a newspaper is how we communicated before Facebook. Just a quick little note there. But I was on TV, radio, all types of different types of media before there was actually social media. And because of this attention, companies asked me to speak for them. So I started that the same year I won, back in 2000. And again, I haven't looked back since. That's my job today, and I absolutely love my job.
Great. Michael, our young Michael, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes. So you say we should learn how to talk to people face to face?
Yes.
Can we get FaceTime or Skype people?
You can. Yes. I mean, if you can't, right now I'm calling you from Lake Las Vegas, Nevada, and you guys are on the east. Well, you're spread out. I don't know exactly where you are. So obviously you want to be able to talk to people FaceTime if you don't have a choice. But whenever possible, learn how to talk to people face to face, because you can pick up like little subtleties about people that you definitely can't from texting. For example, someone sends you just text, you can't tell what mood they're in. Maybe you could pick up on it from the words that they use, but there's something called nonverbal communication. And the thing that you want to get better at and get really, really good at is, picking up on not only verbal communication, but also nonverbal communication, being able to read people and, determining if, what's going on. For example, have you ever had the experience with either your parents or maybe one of your friends at school, and you asked them how they were doing and they said fine, but you can tell by looking at them that they weren't fine? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's what I mean. So that's why it's critical for you. I'm not suggesting that you put your phones down completely. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's and. Get better at that plus, get better at both forms of communication, texting, FaceTime, and being able to communicate and influence people face to face.
Great.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And Jane has a question. If you dial back in 2016 years ago, how do you feel when you won this speech competition worldwide? And also, how do you get that confidence to win?
Two great questions. The night before the competition, I remember saying to myself, I'm Ed Tate, I'm a regular guy, I'm a regular person. And I remember walking on the beach. I won the world championship in a place called Miami Beach, Florida. And I remember walking on the beach the night before the contest, and I said, if I win this competition tomorrow, my whole world would change. However, I myself have not changed. I'm still the same person that I was. And I could have never anticipated how my life would change. There was no way in the world I could ever anticipate how my life was going to change. So once I won the competition, they handed me a trophy. There's no prize money. There's no money, They just gave me this plastic trophy, and I thought that was going to be the end. I just take my trophy and I'm going to go home. Well, the first thing that took place was there were 2,000 people in the room, and 2,000 people got out of their chairs and they all start walking towards me, to the point where I was actually cornered. They actually had to have security come in and actually push people back. So, I got cornered to the point where at one point I couldn't even breathe. And I said to myself, oh my, this is what it must be like to be famous, And for the next 3 hours, I just signed autographs. Now, I just want to point something out. I was still the same person that I always was. What changed was people's perception of me. Other people thought I was something different. I was something special, but I was still the same person. I have not changed. Now, the other thing that has changed for me is the amount of opportunities. I take you back to work ethic. No one's going to outwork me. And it took me almost close to a year to win this competition. But let's think about this for a moment. I worked hard for a year, but here it is. You guys are interviewing me 16 years later. So I worked hard, really, really hard for a year. And because I worked really, really hard for a year, I'm still getting the benefits 16 years later. The message for you is this: work hard. It's only going to last a short period of time. And if you get the reputation at being the best or the only, guess what? You'll continue to get benefits for the rest of your life. For example, for me, I went to a school called the University of Illinois. At the time, we had the best undergraduate business school in the country. Because I went to that school, it opened up so many doors when I actually graduated from school and got a job. I cannot tell you the number of companies that approached me because I graduated from that school. Because I won the world championship, the number of opportunities that came to me around the world because I worked hard for a really, really short period of time. So the lesson I want you to learn early on in your lives is this: work really, really hard. Outwork, whoever it is, for whatever goal you want. And it's only a short period of time. And then once you work really hard and you are the best at what you do, you'll get the benefits almost for the rest of your life. Okay? Did I answer the question?
Great. I think Jane will be very happy with the question. My takeaway from your personal journey is, even you have the world champion title, but you are still so humble. You keep working hard, keep high working ethics. So how can you have this self-control, self-discipline? Tell about our kids.
Well, for me, again, I'm always been the same person. And I always want to treat people. I always want to treat people like I want to be treated. And you see so many celebrities who they get to a certain level and they start to treat people differently, and they start to treat people sometimes, in some instances, rather rudely. I personally have never wanted to be that type of individual. I always wanted to treat someone with grace and respect. And the nicer and the kinder I am, the nicer and kinder people are to me, and the more opportunities I get. I believe in when you are nice and you are kind and you give that out into the world, it comes back to you. And that, I'm in my 50s, okay? And I've lived my life that entire way, and I've never once regretted it. Now, does everyone think that way? They don't, okay? But that shouldn't stop you from being a nice and a kind and a genuine person, a person who doesn't brag. And I mean, here's the most important thing. If you get a position that people are looking at you and it's perceived to be a high position or praise, you know what the best thing you can do for your reputation is to treat those around you very, very kindly, because that reputation will follow you. That will follow you on social media. The fact that this person was kind. And if you're rude, guess what? That will also follow you. And that reputation will follow you to the point where one day you'll no longer be on the pedestal, and no one will want to be around the person who's rude. So for me, it was part of like how my parents raised me. And again, I've benefited so much by just being kind and genuine to other people.
Great. Otherwise, you will not be here talking with us.
It's true.
All right. I welcome the question to the podium or to the lectern. Everybody, raise your hand. Any question, you can go ahead and ask.
Don't be shy, guys. Or if you want to text, you can.
Yeah, text also. I think last time. Go ahead. Whoa, no.
I can't hear.
Yeah. No, I think mute, please. Mute.
I think the dog has a question.
Yeah. All right.
When did you win it again?
I won it year 2000.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think one question before asked is that what's your best speech and what's your worst speech?
Ooh. Let's see. My best speech is, Mike, you and I just met, and we met at the World Championship in Washington, D.C. And the speech I'm the most proud of today is called Manage Things, Lead People, Leadership Lessons Learned the Hard Way. And in this speech, I talk about mistakes I made as a father, as a husband, as an executive working for a company. So this is a speech that's almost the exact opposite of most speeches that you hear. Nowadays, you hear people brag about their accomplishments and things of that nature. This speech, the reason I'm proud of it is I just talk about my mistakes and what I learned from those particular mistakes. It without question is the most difficult speech I've ever had to give in throughout my entire life, because you kind of leave yourself open.
Yeah.
You leave yourself open to criticism. And by the way, those people who criticize you, it says far more about them and their lack of character than it ever says about you. So sometimes when someone's criticizing you and they're doing it unfairly, it reveals their character. They're almost projecting their weaknesses upon you. And the thing I'm going to invite you is to not take it on. So that's like my best speech. Obviously, the speech that helped me win the World Championship is called One of Those Days. I won't say I had a worse speech, but I will say I've had some worse moments. The worst moment I ever had was I was invited, again, I've been around the world 9 times, and I was invited to speak in Saudi Arabia. Now, and I've been invited there 3 times. The first time I was really, really concerned. It's a different culture. So again, I worked really, really hard, and I made sure that my speech was appropriate for that audience. The second time, 2 years later, they invited me to come back again. So I was speaking in Montreal. I had a really good speech there. So mentally, I had the audience from the Montreal audience in my head. Then I also had the audience from 2 years ago in Saudi Arabia. So I didn't work as hard. I didn't prepare as hard as I did before. So when I spoke in front of this audience, 1,000 people, for me, it was terrible. Because this audience, I'd never spoken in front of this audience before on this day, on this topic, on this subject. and my lack of preparation actually showed. I still remember beads of sweat rolling down my back because I wasn't as prepared as I was before. And for me, it was horrible. Now, I actually had some friends there that said it wasn't that bad. And that's why they were your friends, But I also had an opportunity to make it up to the audience. So I had 3 other speeches in front of that audience. So I remember going back to my hotel room and I said, I will never let that happen again. I stayed up all night. I rewrote all 3 speeches. I practiced all 3 speeches for hours and hours at a time to make sure that I was prepared, that the message was for that particular audience. And so I'm proud of my work ethic after I made my biggest mistake. So,
wow, wonderful. I think that's definitely motivate our kids, because hi boys, girls, when you have office hours, be prepared.
Yes.
Don't come here just for nothing. All right.
And it's more difficult too. You're speaking in front of an audience that's it's a non-American audience, so it's a completely different culture. So there's a lot more homework that's required in order to relate to different cultures.
Yeah. All right. We have 2 questions coming in. Alan asked, how do you create opportunities for yourself? Second question from Heidi, how do you reduce nervousness?
Okay, I'm going to take the first one first. First of all, nervousness. Nervousness is not a bad thing. Nervousness is a good sign that you care. It's your body telling you that you're concerned about what's coming up. So nerves are not a bad thing. What you want to do is be able to control the nerves. So usually at the beginning of a speech, that's when a speaker or presenter is the most nervous. And that's also when the audience is the most skeptical. This is a bad combination. So one of the things that you can do, there's several things you can do to prepare, especially if you're doing a presentation in front of people. Number 1, memorize your opening. Memorize your first minute or 2 as to what you're going to say. That gives you strength in terms of, okay, these are the words. That's going to give you some momentum so you can get into the rest of your presentation. So memorize your opening and your closing lines. There's nothing wrong with notes, especially if you're doing a presentation. So sometimes I have friends of mine, they'll take flip chart paper and they'll put the notes on the floor. The audience can't see it, but their notes are on the floor. I have another friend of mine, she takes big pieces of paper and her notes are against the wall. The audience is facing this way, but the notes are on that wall. And again, notes aren't bad as long as they're not a distraction. Okay, and you're not necessarily reading the notes. Preparation is the best cure for handling nervousness. So if you practice, you rehearse, you're prepared, everyone recognizes that you have nervousness. And again, going back to my worst speech ever, I wasn't nervous before that audience. In fact, I was overconfident. So overconfidence, in my opinion, is actually worse than nervousness. Mm-hmm. So the person said, the other question was, how do I create opportunities? So what do they mean specifically by that?
Couldn't tell the context. Probably just, as you said, one door is open, more doors opening. Okay.
Let's see. Well, in terms of creating my, business opportunities.
Sure. Yeah. You live in Vegas.
Yes. I run my own business, and one of the things that the flip side of running a speaker business is you always have to get new business. So I'm very, very disciplined. For example, let's talk about my work week. And by the way, kids, spoiler alert, homework never goes away. There is no exoneration from homework. Okay. The governor's not going to call and say, hey, you're done with homework. It's not going to happen. Okay. There's always homework. After I get off this call, I've got 3 homework assignments I'm going to work on until, let's see, it's 5 o'clock here. I'm probably going to work until 10 o'clock tonight to get that homework done. So there's always homework. And these are proposals. These are other presentations that I'm working on, you name it. So my Sundays I do homework or I prepare for the week. So, usually at 5 o'clock on Sundays, I decide what I'm going to take care of. So I've already done this for this week. So tomorrow, I'm actually taking the day off. My wife is actually She's from South Africa, so she's going to be flying to South Africa. So I'm going to take her to the airport. On Tuesday, I have coaching clients. So I've got 3 coaching clients, so I need to prepare for them. I've got some homework for 3 coaching clients. I'm going to a conference on Wednesday and Thursday, and on Friday, I have also 2 additional coaching clients. Now, in between time, I've got to submit 3 proposals this week, and I also have to reach out to other businesses. So I have a whole file folder. I'll just show this to you really quick.
Wow.
Okay, so all these folders over here are, oops, see all these folders are, oops, okay. All these folders over here, I'm going to be, these are names and addresses. This is my homework. And these are people I'm going to be reaching out to by the end of this week. So that's how I create opportunities. The other way I create opportunities is being really, really good on stage. When I'm really, really good on stage, for example, Mike, how I met Mike. I'm having lunch with my wife. Mike walks up to me, hands me his business card, and we're having dinner. And he says, "Hey, hey, can you speak? Help me speak with my kids." And I said, "Of course." So that was an opportunity. And my philosophy is always, always be open to yes. Always be open to yes. You never know what opportunities will lead to other things. And so I hope I answered your question.
It is.
I wasn't quite sure, but I hope that was helpful.
I still remember Summer has the mussels on the dinner table. I still remember she had a mussel. Yes, we did have mussels. Yes. Thank you. God. Okay.
I never remember food.
The question came in is about the preparation. You mentioned about preparation is the key for success. How do you? It's more like a self-awareness. When you do preparation, how do you know you can find your weakness? You can address that.
Oh, great question. There's several ways with regard to public speaking as to test what works and what doesn't work. Number 1, video. Video is the best way to improve if you want to get better as a public speaker. A couple tips. You look like that. You sound like that. Get over it. We had to watch and listen. Now it's your turn. Okay. Video is the fastest way. If you have ums and ahs or unnecessary pauses and things of that nature, video captures it. So one of the best ways you can improve in terms of public speaking is to watch yourself on video. The other thing that I do is I have a rule, and that is the audience always decides what works and what doesn't work. So let's say, for example, I'm writing a new speech or a new presentation, the presentation that you saw, Mike, Manage Things, Lead People. I practice that speech for 6 months in front of at least 40 different audiences. At least 40 different audiences. And so whenever I would write some material, I would actually go out to a Toastmasters club or a nonprofit organization or some type of audience. And I would videotape that, and I wanted to see what worked. So if something worked, I would keep it. And if the audience decided something didn't work, I would eventually take it out. And the rule was 3 times. So if I tested a piece of material or an idea or a concept or whatever it was, a part of my speech, and it didn't work 3 times, it meant that I was not presented in a way that the audience could receive it. And again, the audience decides. So those are 2 ways that I use in terms of testing ideas and testing materials and see what works and see what doesn't work. Videotaping myself, and again, evaluating if the customer, or if the clients or the people in the audience like the material.
That's good. One student, Jane, asked about impromptu training. How do you develop your instantaneous speech skill?
Oh, this is the hard one. You guys got me on this one. Okay. My title is World Champion of Public Speaking. It's prepared speeches. Okay. Speaking off the cuff, it's a tough skill. Now, one way you can get better at speaking off the cuff is being part of a Toastmasters club. Or in this case, one thing you guys could do is, Mike mentioned this earlier, on January 15th, you've got the youth speaking competition. Join contests. Get involved in competitions. By getting involved in competitions, you actually improve your skills. you get better. You improve your confidence. And I realize that some of you don't feel like it, and sometimes you feel scared, but don't let fear define you. You know, fear is not real. And what I mean by that is fear is the longer and longer and longer you let something stop you, the bigger and bigger and bigger it gets. If you have any type of fear, the best way out of any fear is through. That is head on. You attack it. You go straight on. So if you're afraid of public speaking, you know what you need to do? You need to speak in public. If there is a girl that you like, or if there's a guy that you like, and you want to say hello to them, the best thing you can do is say hello to them. You know, that's the best thing that you can do. Usually what happens is you won't die. I guarantee it, you know. And a quick story. When I was in 4th grade, I had a big crush on a girl by the name of Regina Oliver. I was terribly shy. I've gotten over it. But back then, it was so bad. It was so bad. Well, one day, they announced that there was going to be a dance at a good friend of mine. His name is James Thompson. And so I was going to ask Regina Oliver to dance. Well, you know, I get to the party, and this song is too fast. This song is too slow. This song is not right. And I do this the entire night. And then finally, James' mom says, okay, last song. And I'm thinking, oh, no. You know? So I look for Regina, and there she is kissing James Thompson. Heartbreak. So fast forward, many years later, I'm an adult. Okay? So someone calls me on my cell phone. I couldn't hear their last name, but the first name was Regina. And they said, did you go to O'Keefe Elementary School? I said, yes, I did. And I said, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. She says, my name's Regina Oliver. I'm thinking like, oh, you know, I'm hearing bells ring and, you know, songs like, oh, my, and I'm thinking like, man, maybe she liked me after, you know, all these years and all these other things are going through my head. And she says, could you do me a favor? And I say, anything. And she says, can you help me find James Thompson?
Oh.
Heartbreak again. And anyway, this is what Regina told me. She says, Eddie, I didn't remember you. You see, I was so shy that I couldn't even say hello to her. And after all these different years, she didn't even remember that I existed. But had I said hello, or had I just stepped out of my fear, and by the way, to this day, Regina and I were really good friends. One of her sons plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, the football team, etc., and she's a really good friend now. But I missed out on years of friendship because I was afraid. And the thing I'm inviting you to do is, you know, don't let fear define you. Don't let fear stop you. The best thing you can do is, the best way out is through. Attack that thing that you're afraid of. And I don't mean that from attacking a person. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about any fear that you may have. Just take one step towards it. Okay?
Wow, that's called so boys, try to learn dancing now. All right.
By the way, guys, girls love guys who can dance. So that's all I'm saying.
All right. Stuart asked a question. Okay, we have a few minutes. Why not? We have take 3 more questions. We'll call it off. Sure. Stuart asked a question about, you have so many homework. How do you manage your time?
Oh, okay. A very, very good question. I have certain days. So again, this is more probably appropriate for a business as opposed to being a student. So I have 3 different types of days. I have a free day. A free day is 100% business free. So in this case, this past weekend, Saturday, my wife is leaving. She's from South Africa. She's leaving for South Africa for 6 weeks tomorrow. So this past Saturday and Sunday were free days. 100% business free. No emails, no text messages, no file folders, no business, okay? 0 business. It was all about her. So a free day is completely business free. Then I have what I call a focus day. A focus day is about money. And what I mean by that is a focus day is a day that I'm actually giving a speech. Right now, this is focus day. So I've actually set aside a couple of hours. I wrote down some comments and questions that, for you guys that I wanted to make sure that I covered. But I wanted to focus upon this. So anytime I have a speech or I have a presentation, or I have an appointment with a potential customer or client, that's a focus day. And I schedule things on focus days. So like typically, generally speaking, my Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are focus days. So these are days I'm calling customers and clients. These are days I may be on stage. These are days I'm actually writing, because I actually have products and DVDs and CDs and MP3s and downloadables that I create. So all those things, those types of behaviors are going to generate money down the road. So those are the only types of activities I work on those days. So if it's a focus day, it's about short-term income or long-term income, but it's all about money. Anything that can generate money, that's a focus day. Then I have something called a buffer day. A buffer day is, it prepares me for my focus days. So a buffer day may be, again, me doing a proposal the day before, or doing homework, or doing any type of administrative type of details. So like on my buffer days, I also do coaching calls. So Mondays and Fridays are when I talk to my one-on-one coaching clients. So those are buffer days. So that's how I schedule my time. I have free days, I have focus days, and I have buffer days. And that's very, very helpful for me. Now, when I actually get to a day, I actually have what I call jam sessions. And I'll have 3 different jam sessions. So my first jam session is, I like to get up, I'm an early riser, so I like to get up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'll work for 90 minutes. So if I'm working on any project or any idea, whatever that may be, that's my first jam session, usually from 6 until about 7:30 or so. And then I'll take a 30-minute break. At that point in time, I may check I may return phone calls, I may check my email, and then I'll schedule another 90-minute jam session in the morning. So usually I'd like to have 2 90-minute jam sessions. That is, I'm working uninterrupted for 90 minutes at a time. Now, again, this has worked for me. And I like to have 2 of those in the morning. And I usually try to, schedule those throughout the entire week. And then I'll have 1 jam session in the afternoon, because usually every day is different. Sometimes you get phone calls. Sometimes you have fires you need to put out. But that's how I schedule my days. And again, I try to deal with the most important thing first. So whatever the most important priority is, that gets worked on first. It's the thing I don't feel like working on. It may be the thing I'm scared of, and maybe the thing I'm fearful of. Whatever that may be, I attack that first when I have my highest energy, because I'm more of a morning person as opposed to an evening person. And then in the evening, I usually try to work out, because again, it's been my habit for a number of years. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely. I think you mentioned one of the 7 habits of highly effective people is just first thing first.
Yes.
You attack that first. No procrastination. Great. Cologne asked a question. It appears that how do you give speech so easily? So there must be a knowledge of accumulation. So they are amazed.
It is accumulation. It is knowledge. But this is, again, I'm going to take you back to my first comment. I am a stutterer. There is no cure for stuttering. Okay? So if a person like me can win the World Championship of Public Speaking, that's great news for you guys. So anytime you take on anything new, by the way, you're never good when you start something new. You're never good at it. Okay? That's normal. It's normal to be not good at something when you start. However, the more you practice, the more preparation, the more you work at it, the better you become. This is how life works. So just because you're not good at something right away, you shouldn't stop. Okay, that's silly, because no one is good at what they do right away. So for me, when I have to have a beginner's mind when I'm writing a new speech, because I've never given that speech before, and I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if people are going to laugh or if people are going to like it, etc. The only way for me to find out is through my process. Videotape myself. Test out the new material in front of audiences and watch that videotape, and then make changes and adjustment, and then test it again in front of another audience, and repeat that process over and over again. So for me, that's my process. That's how I get better. I never start off. For example, I've got to give a new speech this is going to be in March. And I actually helped the current world champion of public speaking, a young man by the name of Tate, who's from Singapore. And I helped him win the world championship. So I'm actually created a brand new presentation called Behind the Curtain, how I helped Tate become the 2016 world champion. Well, this is a brand new presentation. I've never given it before. It's going to be March 3rd and 4th. It is now December. So what I'm doing now is I'm writing an outline in terms of, okay, what are the things, what are the things we're going to talk about? So, I'm going to talk about, Darren, when he first approached me, I'm going to show some of the videos that we have of Darren, the early versions of his speech, and then the later versions of his speeches and the changes that we've made. I'm going to talk about focusing. For example, like Darren was really concerned about winning the trophy, and I told him, forget about winning the trophy. That's not important. The most important thing is there's somebody in the audience who needs to hear your lesson or your message. They're struggling. For example, Darren's speech is about bullies. So someone needs to hear your message about how to deal with bullies. And so once we start focusing on that, how can we have a cure for that? Then that's how Darren won. So getting back to your original question is, right now I'm working on an outline. I'm going to test it. I'm going to videotape things. And then in February, I'm probably going to set up about, half a dozen opportunities for me to test the speech before I actually give the actual full speech in March. So that's my process.
Good. Awesome. Well, you touched on so many things. I think one last question before I let you go, Ed. You have so many homework to do, which is about writing. Yeah. So how does writing correlate or intertwine with speaking?
Writing is absolutely critical to speaking. And in our business, in the speaking business, they say writing leads to wealth. The idea, the thought comes before the actual speech. So you may have a rough idea. For example, I use a program called Evernote to capture ideas. It's an app. It shows up on I use a Macintosh, I use an iPad, and my iPhone. So whenever I get an idea, I'll capture that idea in Evernote. And then I take you back to one of my jam sessions. So when it's time for me to write, I actually schedule writing time. I'll go to Evernote and I'll develop that idea or that concept, and I'll work on it and write it and massage it. And it's like you guys writing school papers. When you write a school paper, guess what? You have your first draft, right? Then you make corrections to that draft. And then you may show it to your parents, or you may show it to others, and then they may have suggestions for you. And then you eventually have your final draft. Well, this is the same exact process. These skills that you're learning in school today, guess what? You're still going to use them for the rest of your life. So get good at them now. Stop complaining. There is no exoneration. You're going to be using these skills for the rest of your life. So you might as well get used to it.
Wow.
But that's how I go about that.
So Ed, you give us from the head, heart, laugh, and you give us your time management skills, preparation tips, and also how speaking can change life. Of the 50 people in this program, some of them will become CEO in next generation. Some become senators, will be congressmen. So wow. give them 3 tips so they can benefit for their lifetime.
Let's see. Wow, that's a pretty big burden. So tip number 1, hire Ed as a speaker,
as a coach.
If you are going to be a leader, a CEO, you're going to run a great organization. Treat people like you want to be treated. That's probably the most valuable lesson. I'm a former executive. I've had over 2,500 people work for me. And Toastmasters actually helped me become a better manager. They helped me become a better leader. And what do I mean by that? When I was first put into a leadership role, I always thought that I had to tell people what to do. This turned out to be completely wrong. I operate out of the premise that the answers are in the room, that the answers to any challenge that you face, they're already there. The people who you work with, they already have the answers. So as opposed to telling people what they need to do, get used to asking questions. Ask, what or how questions. Ask them what their opinions are. Ask them, well, how do you think we should go about solving this? And if you get into the habit of asking questions, this builds team, this builds cooperation, it builds buy-in, and and you don't become one of those leaders who becomes like a dictator. You don't want to have that reputation. So I think that one of the best things you can do is, ask other people for their opinion. Don't come across as like you're a know-it-all, because again, the answers are in the room. All of us are smarter than just one of us, and there's no one person who knows all the answers. And if they say that, there's some challenges there. There's some issues there. Okay. The other thing is, again, there's no one, be so good. The only question is who's going to be in second place. You have complete and absolute control over your work ethic. If the people who have a reputation for a strong work ethic are always desirable. For example, the one company I worked for used to be a guy by the name of Tom Timmons. Tom had one of the best work ethics ever. And his attitude was, hey, how can I help you? How can I support you? It didn't matter if you were a coworker, if you worked for him or you didn't work for him. That was his attitude. You always liked being around Tim. Needless to say, Tim became the CEO of our company in a very short period of time. Be like Tim. Have that type of attitude where you're always trying to help others. You're always trying to be supportive of others. If that's the type of CEO you are, your reputation will, everyone will seek you out and want to work for you.
Wow. Great, Ed. We are so fortunate to have you, and we learned so much from your life lessons and accomplishments. So inspiring. Well, let's give Ed a round of applause, and we wish you good luck for your next big assignment. And also, hopefully, we'll see you in next year Toastmasters World Champion Contest.
Absolutely, I'll see you guys in Vancouver. And thank you for spending your time with me tonight. Both, and hello to the parents as well. I hope you found this valuable.
Thank you so much, Ed. All right, I'll let you go.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Bye.
Bye.